Welcome back to Techstrong Unplugged. My name is Cassandra Chin, and today we have Yassine Benabbas.
Hello.
Can you do a short introduction?
Yes, of course. So, hi everyone. I'm Yassine Benabbas. I have a PhD in computer science, and after that, I did 10 years of iOS development at Worldline. And since 3 years ago, I'm a DevRel, and I'm also a teacher and also part of the Lille Android user group.
So you're a part of a lot of things.
So I try my best to help the community and to spread the knowledge as much as I can.
So you said you're part of a user group.
Yes.
You want to describe what that is?
Yes. So it's the Lille Android user group. So it's an Android user group located in Lille. Its goal is to invite speakers and organize meetups so that these speakers can share their knowledge about Android, Kotlin, or anything related to these to the Android community of Lille. So Lille, it's a town in the north of France.
And how do you contribute to the user group?
Yes. So my contributions are, for example, getting contacts with speakers, trying to organize the meetup, like finding the location where to organize the meetup, trying to find the funds to pay for the food for the meal after the meetup, creating the meetup page by itself, with the images, the description, and so on.
You have to create the actual page.
Yes. Yes, on Meetup and also on Google Developers Group page.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's a great experience. Yeah. I enjoy it so far.
Do you get a lot of new people when you go there?
So since it's a meetup, we get like 10, 5 people, sometimes 15. It depends, on the day of the week. It's like you can come whenever you want and just to sit, relax, and discuss.
So it's really flexible. I think that's nice.
Yeah, and flexible. Everyone is welcome. So,
I think you also said you're a teacher.
yes.
Do you want to tell me more about it?
Yeah. So actually, since I was a child, I was teaching like private classes, to other students. So since I was a child, I loved like sharing knowledge, teaching, and now I'm continuing this. During my PhD, I taught some Linux, Bash scripting, and after that, even after I joined the private company, I continued on teaching more in like programming languages in general. Some theoretical aspects like Markov chain, but I really enjoy teaching, sharing knowledge, discussing with students, and it also myself allows me to better understand the topics that I'm teaching, and also to be a better developer, and also to renew my motivation for work.
I think it's interesting that you're teaching others, but you're also learning yourself.
Yeah, indeed. Every year, like when I do my classes, I discuss with students. I see their needs, so I adapt my lectures, and I also follow the podcasts, YouTube channels, and so on and so forth to really get updates, and I really enjoy this activity.
How do the podcasts and YouTube channels help you?
Yeah, so podcasting and YouTube channels help me get up to date and also get real life feedback. So some YouTube channels like give you a concentrated update like in 10 minutes. For example, in France, there is a YouTube channel called Dev Cafe. It's a coffee, for developers. Like every day you have 10 minutes of concentrated news. There is also like a podcast which is a longer format so that you can have more deeper understanding and more deeper discussions like syntax for JavaScript developers. In France, we have Cast Coders for Java news. I'd also discovered the podcast of Horacio Gonzalez, so I've subscribed to it. So yeah, I really enjoy listening to people talking about programming in general.
Do you recommend some of these to your students?
Yes, of course. I recommended, for example, Dev Cafe to my students because, it's a short format. It's in YouTube, so it speaks to them a lot. And some students come back to me like they were sharing the same news. We watch the same show. So, like when I share a news, they tell me, yeah, I heard it also in Dev Cafe, and that's really pretty.
You're doing a nice topic you can relate to.
Yeah.
And do you have a preferred programming language?
So currently, my preferred programming language is Kotlin. Recently, that's one part of conferences that I go to, Kotlin conferences, and also like Java conferences to share about Kotlin. Uh, so currently, like it's really powerful, mature language, and it's cross-platform and full stack. So with Kotlin, you can write, you can target the JVM. So you can use Spring, Quarkus. You can also use Kotlin exclusive framework to develop backends like Ktor. You can also write frontends which are cross-platform. With the Compose multi-platform, you can write your UI once, and it runs on Android, iOS, desktops, and the web with WebAssembly.
So Kotlin runs on both iOS and Android?
Yes.
I always thought that like development for Android and iOS was a little separate.
Sorry?
I thought development for iOS and Android is separate.
Yeah, it's without these kind of new frameworks, it's separate. If you want to develop Android apps, you have to download the Android SDK and use Android Studio and use like Compose, Jetpack Compose to make your UIs. For iOS, you have to download Xcode and use Swift and Swift UI to develop your applications. That's like
You'll need different UIs.
now you don't need different UIs. Yeah. Now with Compose multi-platforms, Compose multi-platform, one UI is runs on both operating systems.
I think that's really cool. Like it runs on both now.
Yeah.
Are there any apps which you develop or you like
Um, an app that I like in the store.
that you're working on or
Ah,
like more on the development side?
okay. So on the development side, so I'm not more of a mobile developer, but when I was a mobile developer, I developed a Drive application for a client and a mail application also. So it's really fun to like see like the internals of these kind of apps, like caching, because Drive apps you have to be fast. When as soon as you open the app, you have to see the list of files that you have on your cloud drive. And so caching is really important, and it has to be smart. So as soon as you open the app, you have to show what you have in your local cache so that you have an immediate like feedback from the application. And then you fetch the data from the server and you synchronize it. So that's really challenging in terms of algorithmics also. Like it's not just like develop UIs and so there's also like some algorithms and some optimizations to take into account.
That's really interesting, like how you have to show something to the user immediately and
Yeah.
then fetch the data later.
Yeah, that's one thing that we learn when you develop UIs. Because originally I did mostly like backends with Spring and even with called I forget its name. Like all the Java framework, all the Java server frameworks, and like you don't think about this kind of stuff. Like you just reply to requests and that's it. But when you develop UIs, like a whole world of constraints appear. For example, memory is limited. In Android and iOS, when you reach a certain amount of memory, your app might get killed. Threading is very important. So the UI thread, it's forbidden to do like time-consuming stuff. HTTP requests. For example, in Android, when you do an HTTP request in the main thread, in the UI thread, your application will crash.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, there are many things, many constraints to consider. And for example, when I started working on the Drive project, like we had the application freezing from time to time.
Yeah.
It's because we did HTTP request or database request locally in the main thread. So while the main thread was busy like fetching HTTP data, fetching the database, the UI can't work anymore, can't animate, can't do anything. So you have to use threads to like delegate this task and like lighten the UI thread.
Use multiple threads to kind of spread the workload.
Yeah. And currently there are many technologies that simplify multi-threading, like higher level APIs like coroutines, async await. These kind of APIs are higher level and allow to do what we call structured concurrency, which is like concurrency but more structured and with more mastery of it. Like you just launch threads and forget about them. You can like wait for their return and so on.
Is that like a thread management system?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you teach a lot of this to students?
Yeah, of course. I love teaching this to students, sharing with them, answering their questions. Yeah, I really enjoy this.
Are there any other tricky topics which you like teaching?
Tricky topics. So trading, yes, optimizations, algorithmics, like when there is an algorithmic problem, when the users like have to scratch their brain to solve it. I teach the game of life. I have a lecture on game of life. So I also really enjoy it. It's with Python, and they draw it with PyPlot. The matrix. It's drawn with PyPlot.
Okay.
And yeah, that's an amazing lecture, because even students like it when they see like things animate and move on their own in a random manner, the patterns and so on.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one lecture that I really enjoy teaching.
Is it the game of life like a board game?
So the game of life is a random pattern generator. So it's not a game like where you play. It's like a simulation of something. You know, you simulate. So you have a matrix or a grid which contains cells, and depending on the like for each cells, the states will change depending on the state of the surrounding cells of the neighboring cells.
Okay.
So you have like cell is alive or dead, and it switches from alive to dead depending on the cells around it. And like given the game of life has certain rules. For example, if the cell is alive, it will die if there is no more cell around it. Things like that, you know. And when the program starts, you generate random alive and dead cells, and then you run the algorithm and you see it move by itself.
I see. So the cells flip on their own.
Yeah.
They make decisions.
Yeah, they make decisions. So sometimes it gives nice patterns. Like you see like alive cells moving like that
Yeah.
or spreading like this. And then you can either see some like infinite alive dead cells like pattern, or you can see like not moving anymore.
Does it usually stop at some point?
Yeah, it depends on how it started. It can either stop at some point, or it can either stay at the state where like some cells become alive and the neighboring become dead, and then they switch back and forth, so it never ends, you know.
I would really love to see it. It's just the cells flipping.
Yeah, you can take a look, Game of Life, and there are even like variants of it, which are much more spectacular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've had a really good chat today, so thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Same here.